Hi, it's Jen here from Jen's Homemadeology, and today we are going to be making the Pandora Allure from Sewfisticated Craft Designs. This end result bag that uses minimum hardware is a very high-end looking bag that features tons of pockets within its two dual zipper gussets. This pattern features two slip pockets with magnetic snaps on the front and the back panels. Within its front zipper gusset, it features a set of 3D pockets, a divider zipper pocket, and then also a slip pocket with tons of room in between the divider. On your back panel zipper gusset, the pattern features 6 card slots, a slip pocket, a zipper pocket, another zipper pocket, and a slip pocket. This back compartment is basically a built-in wallet. This bag is very customizable. You can go ahead and leave out card slots within your back panel and opt for just slip pockets. I did a slip pocket with a divider in the middle for my one, and I left out the zippers. And in order to make it even faster, so if you would like, you can leave off this back zipper gusset altogether and just attach your back panel. And then you would just have your interior. I would personally add in a card slot right here if I was to do that. And this pattern also features a grab handle, and it has 2 D-rings on the side so you can connect a strap and have a crossbody. Now, this is the one I'm going to be making in this video today. So we're going to go ahead and walk through your pattern pieces. I did use waterproof canvas as my printed one, a vibrant hue from Sewfisticated as my blue fabric, along with a watermelon vibrant hue also from Sewfisticated Craft Designs from their supplies. And then for pocket linings, I used their twill. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's walk through our pattern pieces and the supplies that you will need in order to make this bag. We are going to go ahead and walk through all the pattern pieces for the Pandora Allure. First off, you are going to need your main panels, which are piece A and A1. A1 is your exterior, and you'll need 2 of those, and you'll also need 2 of A1, and then another 2 of A2, which will be your stabilizers. Also for your exterior panels, you will need 2 pieces of A3. I have this floral print, and then also you'll need 2 pieces of A4 for your lining of your slip pocket, which is what this ends up being. And then also on this piece for your interior, you will need 2 of E1 linings. Since I have a thin material, I'm using waterproof canvas, I'm going to do the exterior print and the blueprint as the lining of it. Piece B, which is the top part of your zipper gusset, which 1 is needed of the exterior. And you have B1, which is your lining to your zipper gusset, your B2, which is your stabilizer, and then Z1, which is your first zipper for your zipper gusset. Piece B3, 2 pieces of your exterior. And we have piece BB and BB1, which will make your handles. This will be your exterior and this will be your accent piece. So you can picture it like that in a way. We have our zipper gusset bases. So you will need piece C, which is your exterior, and then C1, which is your lining, along with C2 stabilizer. And then we have CC exterior, which is 1, and then you need one of the linings of CC1, along with a stabilizer of CC2. And then this is also where your, this piece will also have your measurement for your Z1A zipper. And we have our interior panels for your zipper boxes. So you will have 2 pieces of your lining that will be cut, if you're using the pattern pieces, cut down to the purple dashed line. You have 2 of those, which is piece D. And then you will have your zipper lining pocket, or your zipper liner. Then you would have your zipper liner, which you need 2 pieces of B1, which would be the full length of the pattern piece. And then you will also need 2 of Z2 zippers. And you need 1 D2, which will be your slip pocket lining. D3, which is for your card slots. Two pieces of D2 for the side panels of your card slots. 1 of piece E, which is for your 3D pocket of your interior. Now this needs to be made out of a relatively thin material. You do not want to use a thick fabric like vinyl. There'll be a lot of layers there. And then also piece F, which you need 6 of for your side opening gussets. And then piece F1, you would cut 2 lining. I did 2 different ones for my exterior, and then the actual lining of the pocket, because this is the divider pocket. And then you would need Z3, 1 of those. And then a piece F2 for your zipper tab. And for hardware, you need 7 zipper pulls, less if you don't do as many interior pockets. But I'm going to do all of those today. And then 2 of the magnetic snaps. You can also use 1 or none of these if you eliminate the slip pockets on the exterior. You will need 2 D-rings, and then 2 swivel hooks and a slider, along with webbing for your strap. And then it is optional to do rivets, which you would need 6 of them, but this really helps with these keeping on the grab handle strap. And one other thing that you will need will be your binding or bias tape, using a double fold one. Now we are going to go ahead and get started sewing. Now we are going to start sewing our Pandora Allure. I'm going to start off with piece F, which is your side gusset. So you are going to go ahead and take 2 of them, and you're going to fold them in half with your right sides together. And you are going to sew this bottom short edge. With this bottom short edge, you are going to sew with a 3/8 seam allowance. And repeat for your second one. And then you are going to turn these right sides out. And we're going to top stitch the top and the bottom edges with a 1/8 seam allowance. Now we are going to go ahead and fold these in half for the lengthwise. And then we are going to end up sewing up the folded edge with a 1/8 seam allowance. And then repeat for your second one. Now both of your side gussets for the back panel are completed. So what they should look like. And then now we are going to move on to our other 4 remaining pieces for our gussets. And these are going to be for the front panel compartment. You are going to go ahead and fold these in half again. This time you are also going to stitch down the length of one side of the gussets. Now I'm clipping them because normally the past 2 bags of these that I've made, I do all my gussets at once. When you saw me doing those batch chains with the other 2. So this way I knew what sides and how many sides of the gussets I was stitching up. And fold right sides together. I'm going to sew across the bottom and across one of the long edges. I'm just gonna again do a 3/8 seam allowance. Now this is where I'm just going to go ahead and stick my next one in. I've already back tacked, and if I go ahead and start sewing with my next one lined up, then I don't need to hold my threads. So I'm gonna go ahead and back tack, line up my next one with the 3/8 seam allowance and start sewing, and it will catch in, and then I can sew down, back tack, and then sew back. And that stopped me from having to pull and start again and hold these threads. So now I can just snip them apart. We're going to go ahead and trim up the seam allowance and our corners. Now we can turn these right sides out. We can poke out our corners. And now we are going to go ahead and we will be top stitching the top edge, basting along this raw edge, and then again top stitching across the bottom edge. And then you're going to leave this joined edge alone. You don't want to top stitch that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn out my other 3 and get them ready, and then we will go ahead and top stitch. Now we are going to go ahead and top stitch that top baste along our raw edge and then top stitch along the bottom short edge for all 4 of our pieces. Now these 4 gussets are done, and you can go ahead and place these aside for now. Now we'll be moving on to the divider zipper pocket. For this step, you will need your Z3, a pull, your F2 zipper tab, and then your F1 linings. I'm gonna start off with our zipper tab of F2 and our zipper. Go ahead and singe the edges of our zipper and get our zipper pull on. And now we are going to go ahead and place our zipper tab right sides down, and you want to make sure that your zipper tab is on the end of your zipper, so when it closes your zipper, or when it opens, it goes ahead and falls against that zipper tab, and then you're closing it that way. Okay. Now we are going to go ahead and stitch this side with a 3/8 seam allowance. Now we're going to go ahead and fold this back, and then we are going to fold this side down and back and meet along that stitched edge, so you enclose your zipper, and then we're going to go ahead and top stitch along here the 1/8 seam allowance. There's that. And now we are going to mark along our zipper tape the measurements stated in step 4. And then with those markings, you want to go ahead and open up the end of your zipper tape, and you're going to fold up at those markings. So I have my markings here. I'm going to go ahead and take that marking and meet it up to my zipper teeth. And then I'm going to go ahead and singe this part of my tape. And then you can always baste along this part, but this just makes 90-degree zipper so much easier for me. Another way you can do it too is if you cut off your excess, yeah, that flat edge right there, you can go ahead and seal it together. That'll be that. I personally like this side because it's easier to catch when you're sewing and then trim it off later, but you can do that. You can also do it with a regular lighter. All right, you're going to take one of your pieces of F1, whichever one you want to be your exterior piece that you would save your pocket, and you want it right sides up. And you're going to find the middle sections. Okay, and there's the middle, and then we are going to find the middles of our zipper tape. And we are going to place that right sides together and center points matched up. And we are going to go ahead and baste on this zipper. And then we are going to go ahead and sandwich with our other piece of F1, and you want it right sides down, so you have your fabrics right sides together. Now we're going to go ahead and stitch this with a 1/4 seam allowance. I just moved my zipper pull out of the way. Can now snip that remaining part of the zipper. Okay, and we're going to also trim the seam allowance corners. You can turn this right side out. Quickly clip the bottom edges or corners of it together, so when I pull to flatten my seams together, it's even. I'm gonna go ahead and unclip my bottom that I had briefly clipped together. You're going to go ahead and take your panel, have it right sides up, and you're going to go ahead and flip up your top layer and face it right side down and match your center point of your zipper. Again. And then we are going to go ahead and base that on with a 1/8 seam allowance. You're going to go ahead and flip over, and then you're going to go ahead and repeat the same with pulling your, this is the right side of your liner. You're going to go ahead and flip up and meet the bottom edge with the zipper again. So essentially you have, say, 2 hot dogs, as we're back in elementary school, but you essentially have 2 folds. And then we are going to go ahead and stitch this on with a 1/4 seam allowance. Now you want to go ahead and do this to where your outer exterior is on the inside, so that it's easier to top stitch. Like this. So we are now going to go ahead and top stitch this edge. Make sure that your lining and exterior are both straight and flattened. Now, as you sew, you're going to end up pulling your zipper pocket towards you a little bit. And now you can go ahead and turn it right sides out and zip it up. And we are going to match up our edges. Now you can go ahead and base these 2 sides with a 1/8 seam allowance. And there's our completed divider, zipper divider pocket. And place that off to the side. We are going to move on to the interior pockets assembly. You have 2 options of doing a zipper and card slot or a zipper and slip pocket. You can either do 2 of the zipper and card slots or 2 of the zipper and slip pockets. I'm going to go ahead and do 1 of each per the instructions, just so you can see both of them. You will need your panel linings, which are piece D, along with your zipper pocket lining, which are D1, 2 of your zippers, which are Z2, along with 2 pulls. And then depending on which parts you're going to make, you will need the card slots, the card slot panel sides, and the slip pocket. But we are first going to get our interior panels together. Okay, now you're going to go ahead and transfer your zipper box markings onto the wrong side of piece D, or you can use the measurements on step 9 to determine your zipper box. If you don't have your pattern piece, print it. So here are my markings for my boxes. We are going to go ahead and place it. And take your lining, your pocket liner, right sides up, and then you're going to go ahead and place your panel lining right sides down, so they end up being right sides together. And then you're going to align the top edges. Go ahead and do clips so that way they don't slip out of place. And then we can do this one at the same time, since I'm doing the same step twice. Now you can feel free to omit a zipper pocket if you don't want both. I'll show you both of them and how they look with either slip pocket underneath of them and or card slots. You are going to go ahead and drop your needle at the start of that box. You're going to sew 2 straight lines. At the end of the zipper box. And do the same thing on the other side. Repeat with your other panel. Now we're going to go ahead and make our slit for our zipper opening. I like to fold mine in half and then take a pair of scissors and cut down the middle and then stop to make your and then also to cut the V-shaped corners, making sure you do not snip into any of your stitches. And go ahead and repeat with this one. And now you can go ahead and flip Go ahead and pull the lining through. Finger press or use a roller to press your seams. You can also use an iron. You want to give them a quick press depending on your fabric. Didn't get that out of the way. And repeat that with the other side. Now we can go ahead and set those aside, and we are going to pull out our zippers and go ahead and cinch the edges and make sure that you put on your zipper pulls. Now, if you are doing both zippers on these, you are going to want to make sure that your zippers are closing in opposite ways as the panels are on opposite sides of the bag. So that way they open the same way when you're using it. We're going to go ahead and place double-sided tape along our top and bottom edges. Now that I come in fresh with a new roll of double-sided tape. I'm going to peel off one side of your thing. I like to put Scotch tape down and line up my zipper so it's straight. And then you take your zipper box and place it in one and flip up and remove this part of the double-sided tape. And you can remove the Scotch tape, and then you can go ahead and place that down. We can go ahead and sew around that box to make our zipper box with a 1/8 seam allowance. No, I'm not going to back tack or back stitch on this because I'm going to go ahead and pull my threads through. Down the needle, pull it up a little bit, and then you can lift up your pressure foot, and then turn, put down your pressure foot again, and then you can continue sewing so you don't skip that cornered stitch. Okay. One more, again, down, start pulling up, and you can turn your piece. And this is here, I'm gonna pull through my threads. Once I pull through, I'm gonna go ahead and tie them off. And you can remove your excess zipper tape. Just for extra security, and singe those ends. Okay. Now you're going to go ahead and fold up your liner to your pocket. Now you're going to go ahead and stitch around your pocket with a 1-inch seam allowance. Make sure you keep your panel lining out of the way. You're stitching along the top and 2 shorter edges. And then you can trim down your pocket. That would be the completion of 1. Now we're going to go ahead and repeat with our second, but we are going to make sure that the zipper closes the opposite way. So this one closes this way, this one's going to close the opposite. So again, I'm going to go ahead and line up my zipper on my table so it is straight. I'm going to peel off the top piece of double-sided tape. You're going to align that zipper. Flip up, remove the Scotch tape and bottom part of our double-sided tape. And then you can press in that. Now we're going to go ahead and stitch around our zipper box again. And we're gonna go ahead and fold up the lining. And stitch around using that 1-inch seam allowance. Go ahead and trim the excess of your lining off. Now you have 2 pockets, one that closes that way and one that closes the opposite way. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put these aside real quick, and we are going to move on to our card slots. So you will need your piece D3 for your card slots and your D4. Now I'm going to go ahead and mark the markings along the side of my pattern piece where the red and the dashed lines are, so I can easily fold up. With our card slot lining, having our placements, our folding and meeting line placements transferred over, I put mine on the right side of my fabric so I can see as I fold. You want to go ahead and your bottom part of your card slots, you're going to go ahead and take that first measurement and fold backwards so that you have your wrong sides of your fabric together on that one. And then you're going to go ahead and take this fold line you just made and match it to your very next marking. Now we're going to go ahead and take our next set of markings, and you're going to pinch together again. So you bring the wrong sides of the fabric together. Just match up the sides of my fabric. That way I know it's straight. And I can clip those. Okay. And then you're going to take this folded edge that we just made, and you're going to once again bring it right to the first set of markings that you make. And then for our final fold, I'm going to go ahead and once again pinch the next set of markings. And then you're going to bring that up to that final mark. And then you want to ensure that your card slots are the same height as your card slot panels, which they are. Once you ensure that, you can go ahead and top stitch each of your layers with a 1/8 seam allowance. Just go ahead and I unclip one layer. Now I can meet that back up. And you can undo your next layer. And we're going to go ahead and top stitch this one. And then our last top stitching of our card slots. And then we're gonna re-match to all those points. And then just assure one more time that you lined everything up again and both sides are the same size of that panel. Go ahead and fold this in half. And then take my chalk and draw a line up the middle so I know where to make my dividing stitches. Now you want to do 2 rows of stitches, one up and then one back down, 1/8 of an inch apart. I like to try to back tack across the pockets just to give a little extra reinforcement. Now you're going to go ahead and baste along the 2 edges. And then we're going to go ahead and place our panels right sides together with our card slots. We're going to go ahead and sew those on with a 1/4 seam allowance. Now, before I go snipping and top stitching, I want to make sure that my card slots can hold a card, which they can. So I'm going to go ahead and snip off my corners. And then I'm going to go ahead and top stitch my panels. There's our completed card slot, and now it is ready to be attached. Okay, so now to attach our card slot to our panel lining, you want to make sure that you have your zipper with it closing to the left. You're go ahead and take your card slots and you're going to put them right side down. You are going to make sure that your top part of your card slot is the part that you're connecting to the bottom of the panel. And that is so once you go ahead and stitch it together, flip it, and fold, and you top stitch, your card slots will be the right side up and not upside down. So again, just real quick, bottom of your panel, top part of your card slots. Okay. Go ahead and attach with a 1/4 seam allowance. I'm one of those that like to double, triple ensure that I sewn them the correct way before going and snipping off corners. Okay, now once you fold up that card slot, you want to go ahead and top stitch the seam that you just connected. Fold this up. I'm just going to, right at this moment, estimate where I'm folding up to, and then you're going to get your panel, your main panel piece, and you are going to go ahead and make sure that the height of it is the same. Oh, it wasn't too far off. Actually, it would have been just right. Like that. Okay, And then you can go ahead and baste the two sides. You can ensure, again, that your panel is the same size. And now we are going to use this panel piece to actually round out our corners. So for the sake of it being a film and me not messing up as I'm doing this, I'm just gonna clip. And then, yeah. And then this is what your finished panel will look like. This is one of your interior panels finished. Now we are going to take your opposite closing zipper panel. So this is one that closes off to the right. And you are going to take your slip pocket piece D2. Again, you are going to place it right side down, or right sides together, and you're going to take the top edge of your piece and align it with the bottom edge of your panel. Okay, we're going to go ahead and sew this with a 1/4 seam allowance. Snip our corners. Okay. And we're gonna go ahead and fold up our seam. Go ahead and top stitch this. Now, once you have top stitched on that edge, you are going to want to go ahead and then again do what you did with your other panel and make it match the height of the front panels. And then you're going to go ahead and baste the two sides. And then we are going to round off these corners. two panels for our back panel, our back compartment are done. So they will be together. You can go ahead and set these aside. Now we're going to move on to the interior pocket assembly for the 3D pocket. So you are going to need your piece E, which is your 3D pocket lining, and also one of your main panel piece linings, piece A. We're first going to go ahead and start off with taking your piece E and folding it right sides together and meeting up the long edge. You are actually going to go ahead and sew up along the two short edges and across the top, but you want to leave a gap in the middle so you can turn it right sides out. I'm going to go ahead and sew up across here and then here with a 1/4 seam allowance. So I can leave my gap and then start back up. Okay, snip the corners. And then I like to hold down across my stitch line to give me a little helping markers of where to fold back my thing. And now you can turn this right side out. Hemostats to help point out the corners. And a nice press. And now you're going to go ahead and top stitch along the top edge so you can close off the opening of your 3D pocket. Now we are going to go ahead and take our panel lining A1 and you are going to mark the sides and the bottom of the measurement in step 18. Now we're going to go ahead and find the middle of our 3D pocket. And you want to make sure that you use fabric chalk in order to mark on your panel so it's easily removable. My bottom line, I also marked the middle of that panel and where that line intersects. So now I can go ahead and match those up, and then you can take your painter's tape and go ahead and fold your panel, your 3D pocket down to your panel. And now we are going to go ahead and stitch 2 lines up the middle of this, starting from the bottom. I'm actually gonna fold this in half. I mean all the edges so I can have a line so I can sew easier. Very faint one, but it will do. Okay. Pull through our threads. Tie them off and cinch them. Back over, and you're going to take each side of your 3D pocket and line it up to the side measurement. Tape to hold it in place. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same on this side. Now you're gonna go ahead and sew your 2 sides with your 1/8 seam allowance for a top stitch. And now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing to this side. And now we are going to go ahead for the folding of your 3D pocket. I like to start my measurements from the outer edges and marking them in from the measurement in step 19, and then folding back out and on that measurement marker. And then taping that down in place, and then going ahead and measuring in the amount and folding at it and back down and out. Get a little sandwich thingy going on there. Line everything up. And then I can go ahead and flatten down and in my 2 panel pieces to the middle to meet. And then that will be the measurement that you need. And now I can go ahead and top stitch along the bottom with a 1/8 seam allowance. And now I'm going to go ahead and tie and singe off all my ends. And now those are your completed 3D pockets. Okay, we are going to go ahead and take our 3D panel, pocket panel that we just made, along with our card slot panel, and put them wrong sides together. And we are going to go ahead and baste these together in order to put our middle, to make our middle panel. And then there's our middle panel all ready to go. Okay, we are now going to work on our interior slip pocket. So you will need your 2 pieces of E1, which I have a print and a lining solid. And then you will also need 1 of your pieces A1 of your lining. And then 2 of your put together side gussets. This is the one that we did not fold in half. These are 2 of the bigger ones. We are going to go ahead and take our 2 curved slip pockets and put them right sides together along the curved edge. And then we are going to go ahead and sew this edge with a 1/4 seam allowance. And then you are either going to use pinking shears or you can cut in notches, but you want to go ahead and trim this seam since it's a curved seam. And then we are going to press them, so right sides out. And we are going to go ahead and top stitch. Okay, now we are going to go ahead and take our panel, our interior liner panel, and place it right sides up, and place the slip pocket that we just made also right sides up. And we are going to go ahead and baste this around. Now we are going to go ahead and take our pattern piece for our main panel, and we are going to mark the spots for our side gusset placement. And we're going to take the raw edge and line the top of it up with that placement. And you're going to repeat that for the other side. And now we are going to go ahead and baste these on. And there's your completed interior slip pocket panel for your front main compartment. Now that your front panel lining's done, we're going to go ahead and put this aside, and we are going to work on our exterior panel assembly. And we are going to need our piece A, we're going to need both of our piece A's, which is our exterior panel lining. We will also need our A2 stabilizers. If you haven't already done so with adhering your stabilizers, you do so now to the wrong side of your fabric. And this is the Sewfisticated foam from Sewfisticated. So it's just a peel and stick. Really love this stuff. And then if by chance you do need to rechange its position, you can do so. And then as it sits, it will adhere more firmly. You can also press it too, and it will get a super strong hold. Okay. Now, if you are doing a logo tag, that will be inserted in step 23, which would be on your front panel. I don't have a logo tag, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip that. And we are going to go ahead and mark our snap placement for our female snap. And you're going to go ahead and take the panel placement and mark your area. I like to take my washer for my snaps and put it on the pattern piece and mark my placements where those lines are going to be and make little slits in it. So then when I take my pattern piece and line it up, I can go like that, and then I can see where my placement will be. And I'm not guessing, is it centered And then I can take my scissors and snip. And then the female one, and it just goes right on in. Now you can go ahead and place another piece of stabilizer back here if you want it to, other than just the backing piece. Now this fabric I'm using usually doesn't fray or anything, but because it's on a little bit of a thinner side, I personally just like to put a little bit of fabric tack down on those two slits that I made and then insert my magnet. Just gives a little extra security in my opinion. And then you want to fold out pieces and then put a piece of masking tape over. And then we are going to go ahead and repeat that with the other panel. Now, if you're only doing a slip pocket on one of your exterior panels, then you will only need to do that for one step and not two. Aside. And now we are going to take our linings of our exterior panel A4, and again we're going to have these right sides up. And again, I made my slit markings using one of the washers, just with inside of that hole. And now, because this one won't have any stabilizer behind it, I'm gonna go ahead and take and cut a piece of Pelitex 70. Go ahead and place behind them. And then I just take the washer in the middle of it. Once again, mark where my things are going to go. Okay. And then I'll fold this in half and cut. My slits. Again, just gonna put a little small dab of fabric tack over those seams, so when I push it through, it just seals up nicely. Put on my piece of stabilizer, my washer, and then fold those out. And then tape. That's one completed, and then we'll go ahead and repeat with our other one. So those are now done, and then we are going to attach our A3, which is our exterior panel linings, and you are going to put those right sides together. I'm going to go ahead and do the same with your second piece if you're doing two. And then we are going to go ahead and sew with a 1/4 seam allowance. And we are going to go ahead and trim off a seam allowance, either using our pinking shears, or you can go ahead and make notches in it, which is what I did for the longest time until I got a pair of pinking shears. These are actually pretty good ones considering they were only $8. So I'm still getting used to cutting with them. And then we're going to go ahead and flatten our seam allowance and turn the fabrics right side out. Okay, repeat with this. Okay, and now we can go ahead and top stitch with a 1/8 seam allowance. And repeat with the second slip pocket. Those are completed slip pockets. Now we are going to go ahead and and attach those to our front panels, and then baste around the perimeter to attach. Once you have these two lined up, you're going to take one of your ones for the front panel, and which would, if you did a logo tag, would have your logo tag on it. And you are going to take your interior front panel with slip pocket, which was the pocket we just assembled right before this step. And you are going to line that up wrong sides together. Look like this. That. Now we're going to go ahead and baste around. Now, if you didn't use a self-adhesive stabilizer like I did, if you're using Pellitex or anything of its equivalent, that you would want to make sure that it's inside between these two before finishing. So there's that finished one. And now you can go ahead and set your front panel aside. We are going to work on our back panel. And we are going to take our back panel, which is, which for this make will be our slip pocket with our zipper that's closing to our right. And we are going to take our panel piece and mark where our gusset placement will be. Now this is where you're going to take your two gussets that you've sewn down the middle, so they're folded. They have the two raw edges. You're going to go ahead and with your seam on the facing the right side down together, you are going to go ahead and clip one of the raw edges matching up to that placement. Okay, and then to help keep your gussets out of the way while sewing, you're going to go ahead and tape that down, and then you're going to repeat on the other side. And again, tape open. Okay, so you ensure that your folded edge is down, and that's that. And then you will go ahead and baste these two on. And now you're going to take this panel, and you're going to attach it to your remaining exterior panel, which is the one that we just previously made and set aside. We can go ahead and baste these together. Once again, if you aren't using a self-adhesive foam and you're using Pelletex or its equivalent, make sure that it's in between your layers before basting clothes. And there's your completed back panel. Now we are going to move on to our zipper gusset assembly, and we are going to start off with creating our grab handle. So I'm doing the grab handle with the accent handle piece. So you will have your BB, which is your bottom part of the handle, which is your 1-inch piece. So if you only wanted to do a 1-inch handle without the X piece, you wouldn't need this, but I'm going to show you both pieces. And then here's our BB1. So you are going to go ahead and on the wrong sides of the fabric, you are going to mark a line down the middle. And then repeat for your BB1. Now, I also have seen people use webbing for their bottom piece of their accent handle. So if you do that, you would just need to cut it to the length of it versus you don't need to worry about the width because you won't need to have to fold the webbing. Now we are going to go ahead and apply double-sided tape just outside of our center line on both of our pieces on both sides. So that's one. That's two, and then you're going to go ahead and pull off and then just fold in your long edge so it meets the line. And you repeat on the other side. And then you're going going to take another piece of double-sided tape and put it down the seam. And now you're going to move over to your BB1 for your accent piece. And you're going to repeat the same process. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the centered piece of double-sided tape, and you're going to take this and place those folded seams together. Now we are going to go ahead and transfer our markings from the BB1 piece. I personally like to do it on both sides of the strap so that I can see a little bit easier where I need to end. Now we are going to sew these two together from our last two stitches on our handle. So it's really easy to see. We are sewing from this line to this line. And you're going to sew down here, there, and then back around, so that way you enclose this part of your grab handle first. And then you are going to sew this with a 3/16 away from your blue edge, which ends up being 1/8 away from your edge of your accent panel. So whatever is easier for you to measure your seam with. Just making sure that my stitching is straight. I'm gonna go ahead and pull these threads through when I have my space for it. Okay. Now you can go ahead and knot and singe these. there's that. Now, if you did want a more structure of a handle, you can add interfacing or a little thin stabilizer to your handle. We are now going to go ahead and grab our top panel gusset, which is piece B. Mark the centers, which just marking with a very, very, very shallow snip. Okay. We're going to go ahead and also take our 2 D-rings and slide those on in. And we are going to take our double-sided tape and we are going to place a little bit of double-sided tape that fit in between your measurements, which I'll grab. This was a little bit easier to see. You want a piece of double-sided tape that will fit between here and then there, and then same thing on your other sides. Here. Now you want to align this center. You want to take this center and match it to the center of your top zipper gusset panel. And then you want to make sure that it's centered through. And then you can remove your other piece of double-sided tape. And then your D-ring will go in between those markings, so your D-ring falls in between this. Okay. And now we're going to go ahead and sew up, across, and down again, and across here for a basting stitch, 3/16 stitch, and then you're going to go ahead and repeat that 3/16 stitch and make a box stitch from your other markings. I'm first going to go ahead and base this one. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and sew my other part of my box stitch with that 3/16 of an inch stitch. Stopping at my marked spot and turning. And now we're gonna sure your handle is straight in the middle. Okay. Since the back of my pressure foot is slightly on my D-ring, I'm going to go ahead and slip what I use for a hump jumper for the first few stitch, just to get it off that D-ring. Pull my threads through real quick. Pull those through, and then we're going to go ahead and repeat that same thing on this side. Matching up our center point. Make sure that it's straight. Okay. Gonna baste it. And stitch with that 3/16, making sure to stop at your first mark. Make sure you slide your D-ring back. Okay. And then center your remaining part of your handle, and then you're going to go ahead and sew your last of your markings. I did this just to get my, how far in was my exact stitching for my part of my box, so that way I could hide my stitches like I did on the other side. Again with my hump jumper piece of vinyl that I use, since my back of my pressure foot is on my D-ring. Okay. now we are going to go ahead and join our zipper gusset, which we will then need our zipper gusset side panels, our B3 with our pieces. You want to make sure that if you're using a directional print, that you connect the top side of your print to your gusset. So that way when it's down, that your print is the correct way. And you're going to also repeat that on the opposite side. You're going to sew those two sides with a 3/8 seam allowance. You're going to go ahead and snip the corners. And then press out your seams. And then we are going to top stitch across these with a 1/8 seam allowance. And then repeat on the opposite side. Well, this is where you will want to check to ensure that your zipper gusset is the correct length. That is stated in step 33, or you can use your zipper gusset piece B1 to ensure that it's the same. The same length. There's sliding it. I guess, or if you don't have pattern pieces and you're using a ruler, you can also ensure that it's the same length of your lining piece. Okay, we are going to go ahead and then adhere our stabilizer of B2, which again, I have that self-adhesive foam. If you're using Pelletex or its equivalent of it, you will want to use double-sided tape or a type of adhesive to get it to stick. And then we are going to make our markings for our rivets. If you are not using rivets, you can go ahead and skip this part of the step, though you might want to put box X stitches within your boxes to really support the handle. I'm going to go ahead and use rivets, so I'm going to place them 3/8 of a way from our stitches. You want them centered in the middle. 1, 2, and 3. And then you'll go ahead and repeat that on the other side. Now I'm gonna go ahead and place in my rivets. Okay, now I don't have a press to do rivets, but use one of the Japanese punches or hole punches and place it over my marking. Now, when you're using these, you want to make sure that you have a cutting mat or something underneath that you don't mind if it gets destroyed, because it does get into there. So you can punch a hole in what you're doing. So let's see if I can do this without getting in the way of the camera. Hard time getting the leverage with my camera in the way. Okay. Now that my holds are made, I'm going to take some of my fabric tack and take a little bit of my fabric tack, place it in the hole. This way it will give extra security for not only my rivet but my seams. And then just a little bit to ensure the cap stays on. And my kit came with one of these. Set it in. Set in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and do my other 5. Okay, now that our rivets are attached, we are going to go ahead and put on our zipper tape for your Z1 zipper, which is your longest zipper. Now, if you have a directional print, you will want to put your zipper on the bottom side of your print so it faces forward. Mark the centers of your items. So I marked centers. I'm gonna do this side as my front since that flower is a little bit more prevalent. Match zipper, so you place your zipper right side down, so it's then will be fabrics are right sides together. Now we are going to go ahead and baste this on with a 1/8 seam allowance. And now you are going to want to take and measure up from this fold marking. You want to mark up 3/8 of an inch. So with this marking, that's 3/8 of an inch away from the top seam of your side gusset. You're then going to place the raw edge of your side gusset along your zipper. And then you're going to repeat that on the other side. So your panel will look like this, and we're going to go ahead and baste these two on. And take your lining fabric, piece B1, and place it right sides down and line it up with your exterior. And before you place this lining down, you want to make sure that you attach to your side gussets, because you want that sandwiched in between. We're going to go ahead and sew this with a 1/4 seam allowance. You're now going to go ahead and turn your fabrics right sides out. And then there is our zipper gusset. Okay. Now, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and put on your zipper pulls. I didn't put them on earlier because it helped me make my gusset smoother. Okay, and we have both of those zipper pulls on, and then we are going to go ahead and attach the base to our zipper gusset. You will need piece C, C1, and then C2, which is your stabilizer. We are going to start off with piece C1. Now, with linings right sides together, you are going to go ahead and attach your gusset base with a 1/8 seam allowance basting stitch. And you're gonna flip over and attach your exterior. You're gonna go ahead and attach your exterior zipper gusset base. Okay. If you have a directional print, make sure that your panel is facing the same way as your upper gusset panel, and then you're going to go ahead and sew this on with a 3/8 seam allowance. Go ahead and snip your corners, but then up here you want to only snip your exterior so that you don't cut into your zipper, and then we can trim our zipper off there. Now, if you haven't done so already, you are going to adhere your stabilizer. Now, we are going to go ahead on the other side of our zipper gusset. I'm going to go ahead and put it right sides together. And again, you're going to go ahead and baste this on. And then we are going to flip. We are going to go ahead and flip this so you can meet the exterior right sides together. And that will be that. And we are going to sew that with a 3/8 seam allowance. Again, we are going to snip our bottom corner and then snip the exterior top and trim away the remaining of the zipper. now you can turn it right sides out. And we are going to go ahead and top stitch along the two sides and baste along the two raw edges. Now you can go ahead and place this zipper gusset off to the side for now. We're now going to work on our back panel zipper gusset. You will need your Z1A zipper, your zipper gusset base piece CC, your zipper gusset base CC1, and then your stabilizer CC2, along with your remaining two pulls. You're going to go ahead and attach the pulls. Now we are going to go ahead and take our lining. We are going to put it right sides down with the bottom side of our zipper. So this is the right side of my fabric. And I'm going to baste this on. Now you're going to turn over to the right side of your zipper, and you're going to face your exterior piece right sides down, and then you are going to join this with the 3/8 seam allowance. And now, again, flip over to the wrong side of your zipper, and you're going to align your lining right side down to the wrong side of your zipper. And baste at a 1/8. And then bring your exterior up and place those right sides together, and then sew this at a 3/8 seam allowance. And we are going to snip the exterior fabric only of the corners, just to help reduce bulk, which won't be too bad with this, but it does get pretty thick along there with all the layers if you do all the options. Before you close this up, make sure that you insert or adhere your stabilizer to your base. Don't be like me and leave it out, as you can see my stitches. Now we're going to baste and top stitch. Now your back zipper panel or zipper gusset is done, and we are going to attach this to our back panel. We are going to go ahead and mark our centers on the fabric. I'm just gonna make shallow snips within my seam allowance. And then on my zipper, I'm gonna mark with chalk. And there's that. For the back panel assembly, you will need your back panel, which is the back exterior, and then this is the lining of the exterior. It's your panel that you attached your folded sewn gussets to. So in my case, it's a slip pocket with a zipper pocket. If you want it to have more card slots and you made double card slots, then that could possibly have those on it for you, but this is the one that we made for our back panel in this video. So it has the slip pocket. We're going to turn this to the right side of the exterior back, and we are going to take our back panel gusset that we just made, and we are going to match up our center point with the zipper right sides down. And then same thing with our bottom, mark right sides down and right sides together in the case. And then mark our center points on the sides. Now you can go ahead and unzip your zipper to make it easier for getting your zipper worked around the curves. I'll clip this up out of the way. I like to work from my bottom, getting my bottom part of my base gusset attached. So I know that's in place, and I'm working my way out. Now this zipper should fit perfectly, so you won't need to make any snips in order for it to lay right. If you do, make sure that you're not snipping any more than 1/8 of an inch into your zipper, and that you are then singeing those snips to make sure to prevent from fraying and having your zipper unravel. That will be that. Now we are going to, you want to ensure that you have your painter's tape down to keep your gussets out of your sewing area. We are going to go ahead and base this with a 1/8 seam allowance. Using your hemostats to keep your zipper tape in place if needed. Which usually around my zipper pulls is when that becomes an issue. I'm working around, making sure that you don't have any puckers in your zipper tape. Alright, now we are going to go ahead and attach our bias tape to that seam, starting from the bottom base. And then you can either use clips or double-sided tape in order to work your binding around. Now you're going to want to leave an access so you can fold it back. And clip this out of the way for right now. And now you're going to go ahead and sew around with a 1/4 seam allowance. If when you're going around the curves, you can shorten your stitch length in order to reduce puckers at the corner. There's that panel. And you can see my shortened stitches around the corners. And you want to ensure that you are happy with your corners and your stitches before you move on, and that your zipper is not puckered anywhere. Also a good time to work in that seam. Now we are going to go ahead and attach our front zipper panel to this gusset. Okay, now we are going to work on attaching this back panel that we just completed to our front zipper gusset. We're going to go ahead and flip over our back panel so the exterior is right side up. And then you are going to go ahead and take your front zipper gusset and you are going to be attaching the back panel to the raw edge of your front zipper gusset, so the gusset side without the already attached zipper. So you are going to take your base part and you're going to put it right sides together with your back panel and align up these center points. And now you are going to go ahead and take your zipper from your back panel and attach it to your front zipper gusset. You want to make sure that there's right sides together and that your zipper is not twisted anywhere. You're going to match your center point. And then you're going to go ahead and clip around your zipper. Now, once you ensure that your zipper is evenly placed around your zipper gusset, you can go ahead and baste it on with a 1/8 seam allowance, sewing with your panel, back panel, right sides down, and ensure that your gussets are out of your sewing area. Now that you have attached your back panel to your front zipper gusset, you want to ensure that you are happy with your stitches and that there's no puckering around. I like to also ensure that my base gussets are lined up. Now, step 47 is very important. You do not want to miss this step or you will miss attaching your gusset from your back panel. So the step is to attach these. I'm going to go ahead and turn my front zipper gusset inside out, foot over so I can see my back panel, and I'm going to drop this panel into that zipper gusset so that the edge that we just attached the zipper to is facing up. You're gonna mark 3/8 of an inch away from this joined seam like we did previously for this side. And then you are going to go ahead and bring up your gusset and align to those markings. Now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing to this side, marking 3/8 up from there, and then placing our raw edge of our zipper gusset. And now we are going to go ahead and baste these two seams on with the 1/8 seam allowance. And then you want to ensure that you're sewing with your zipper gusset lining side down. And now that you can ensure that you're happy with your gusset placement and attachment, and that there's no folds and you didn't snag it. Turn back the way that we just had it when you check that you're happy with your stitches. Tucking it down inside again. We are now going to go and attach our middle panel to our back panel. So this is our back panel. We're having exactly the way we just had it when we attached these side gussets, and we are going to go ahead and mark our center points of this. And then you are going to take your middle panel, which is the one with the 3D pockets, and then on mine, the card slots. If you opted out to do the card slot, you might just have that slip pocket. But this is the one where the zipper closes to the left. And we are going to go ahead and put this side down, so your 3D pockets are facing right side up. And you also want to ensure that your actual pocket, the top part of your 3D pocket, is at the top of your bag. Yeah, and then you're going to match center points and then clip around. Now, because this has a lot of layers and a good amount of bulk and such a tight sewing area, I like to use a lot of clips to help ensure that it stays in place. Another thing that you can do, it makes it easier sewing, is to go ahead and sew your straight edges and then come back and work around the curves. And then this is what your other side looks like, just in case you're curious. We're going to go ahead and sew with our 3D panel up. We're going to have to base this with a 1/8 seam allowance. I like to start from that bottom base. Okay, now that we are done basting that on, you want to go ahead and check your stitches to make sure that there's no puckers and that you're happy with it. This is also a good opportunity to see the back pocket. Make sure that that's correct and that you didn't attach something backwards. Good. And you're checking this seam slash zipper. Let me turn it back out. I'm going to go ahead and attach my binding, starting from the bottom middle. I'm going to leave some excess so we can fold back so there's not a raw edge. I'm going to go ahead and clip this to another piece. Okay, and then we are going to go ahead and sew around here with a 1/4 seam allowance. Once you ensure that you are happy with all of your stitches, you can go ahead and turn your bag right side out so you can check to make sure that you're happy with your stitches on the outside and that your panel is zipped up. You can view how that would look. So that's the back panel. And it is now your main compartment is ready for your front panel. Once you have ensured that you are happy with your stitches, you can go ahead and turn it back so the right or the wrong sides are out. Okay. And now your main compartment is ready for your front panel. We're going to go ahead and make sure that we mark our center points of our zipper gusset and our front panel. We are going to go ahead and put our front panel right sides down, matching our middle center points. Top inside. Side. Okay. And then once you have all your center points matched up, you can go ahead and unzip your zipper. And that will make it easier to work the zipper around the curves. Okay. And then you're going to continue to clip on your zipper around the panel, ensuring that it's not twisted in anywhere and that your right side of your zipper is right sides to the front part of your panel. I find it helps a lot to do your centered point. So when you're working your way to a curve, to work out your straight parts. And then come back for the curve. And these gussets are made to fit like a glove, so you should not need to snip them. If you do, no more than 1/8 as stated before, and make sure that you singe your zipper tape to prevent from fraying. You're done clipping, you want to go ahead and sew with your panel, your front panel down. Starting from the bottom middle of your bag. And you want to ensure that your gussets stay out of your sewing area. now you can go ahead and check that you are happy with your basting stitches and that there's no puckers in your zipper tape. Once you've checked that you're happy with your stitches, you can go ahead and attach our final thing of bias tape. And we're going to leave that little bit of access so you can fold over. I'm going to go ahead and clip this back so it's out of the way when we start. Now we're going to go ahead and sew along here with a 1/4 seam allowance. Should have done it the other way. Okay, well that's an easy fix. Since I want to sew with my panel down, I needed to start my binding going the other way. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put that panel side down again, and we are going to sew along with a 1/4 seam allowance. You can go ahead and do smaller stitches around your curves again in order to help with a smoother curve and not to have gaps. Okay, and then ensure that your gussets are out of the sewing area so you don't sew them down. Go ahead and fold back my other piece of binding. So ensure that you're happy with your stitches and that you caught your binding on both sides. And then also check your zipper on the other side. Make sure that you don't have any puckers again. And also you want to work back that binding. Okay. We are just a few stitches away from our completed bag. There are two different ways of inserting your divider pocket. For both of the ways, you're going to want to mark 3/16 of an inch away from the long edge of your gusset. So you're marking it onto your shorter gusset. Now once you do that, you are then going to place your zipper pocket and start off with one side, aligning your raw edge of that divider zipper pocket. And I'm going to walk you through this way before doing it the way that I prefer. And then you would stitch this with a 3/8 seam allowance. And then you would go ahead and bring this over and clip it. And then you would do 2 sets of stitches. You would go ahead and do another 3/8 stitch. And the reason why I'm not doing that one is because you have to then try to line it up with your other stitch, which with the bulk of the bag can be difficult. And then you would go ahead and follow by a 1/8 stitch. Now, if you have some double-sided tape, you can place double-sided tape on your divider pocket on both sides, on both ends. It's one side on both ends, and then other side on both ends. And then I'm gonna peel off one of the backing pieces of your double-sided tape. You're gonna line the edge of your zipper pocket up with those markings and press. Then you're gonna go ahead and remove your other piece of double-sided tape. And take your gusset from your front panel and line up your edges and clip, press and clip in place. Once you have your seam pressed and clipped with the double-sided tape in between, you are going to go ahead and do 2 rows of stitches. I like to do my first set at the 3/8 because that's the one that catches that divider pocket within your stitches. One row of stitches down, and you can ensure that your divider pocket is caught. Now we are going to do our top stitching mark to enclose that seam. And this one we're doing at a 1/8 seam allowance. So there's our one side, and now we're going to go ahead and repeat that same process on your other side. Now this one can be a little bit more trickier since you can't pull your zipper gusset or your divider pocket out of your bag all the way like you did the first time. So you may need to move around and manipulate your bag a little bit to get it underneath your presser foot. So moving my backing of my double-sided tape, marking up, matching up to my markings, pressing, moving the other piece of double-sided tape, and matching your gusset from your front panel. You're going to be pressing and clipping to really hold that in place. And this is why I said the second set's a little bit harder, because your front panel moves a little bit. Okay. So with this one, I'm going to go face down, and we're going to go ahead and do the first set of stitches again at that 3/8 seam allowance. And now we are going to go ahead and make our last row of stitches at our 1/8 seam allowance to once again close in that seam. And you can carefully singe off any little bits of threads. That's the divider pocket, and then you can go ahead and close up your bag. So I'll give it a, go ahead and reshape it from that little bit of pushing around that you did. And there's our completed Pandora Allure. So excited. I hope y'all enjoyed making this bag as much as I did. Please follow and subscribe for more tutorials. Thanks. Bye.